Hello guys and welcome to Wowhead Weekly. I gotta say, I was positively surprised by the new introduction. I kind of forgot that we had it. Welcome to today's show, number 241. Since last week we've had the PTR actually opening up for everyone to test out the pre-patch, so we will be talking about that. And then we have some other little topics too, some rather controversial for some. For example, the tier 3 transmog toy, which has been found on these servers. Before we get into anything, let me introduce myself. I'm Annie, or also known as Annie Fuchsia, and I'm a full-time streamer on Twitch, mostly playing a lot of World of Warcraft. Let me take the reins and hand them over to my lovely co-host, Perculia.
I run Wowhead, overseeing all the news and guides and tool production on the site for retail and classic. And it's always fun to do this show, and instead of being behind the scenes, be in front of the camera once a week to share what's new on the site and what a lot of people are talking about. So our first big topic this week is going to be the pre-patch event, which also goes along with the PTR being up for the very first time, which, a lot of new things to test, a lot of speculation as to when the release date is. And the event itself has a ton of nostalgia stuff with, like, zombie invasions and Nathanos returning and Bolvar returning. So let's discuss that first, and then we'll move into the Shadowlands stuff, like the legendary item level tiers and the various Covenant bonuses and the really spicy tier 3 transmog toy.
Indeed, I think that sounds great. And together with this introduction, we just actually had some subs and resubs. So let's quickly shout them out. Before we go on, we just had Master Sora with a fresh new subscription to the channel. Thank you very much, Master Sora. We also had Rada, who came in with his 21-month resub. Woot woot for Wowhead, he says. Thank you, guys.
Aww, thank you.
And then we got Noma also with a fresh subscription. Thank you and welcome, guys.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for supporting Wowhead. And yeah, with that, we can jump into the different topics of today.
So
and let's start
I
with the Scourge.
Yeah, the zombie invasion that was very popular and controversial in the Wrath pre-patch is returning now in Shadowlands, and it's very chaotic, as you would imagine, because you can infect others and turn them into zombies, and you can deal lots of damage, and it gets very messy in capital cities very quickly. So, for example, go ahead. Sorry, you can go first.
I was gonna make a somewhat serious comment and say, and everyone loves this, but go ahead. What were you gonna say?
I was going to say, I just was gonna give examples like, if you missed it in the pre-patch, you can do things like zombie explosion to explode yourself, but then it deals high damage to everyone else. You can beckon other zombies to fight with you. You can increase the movement speed. You can throw bile on the floor, and it's
like you have a new action bar, right?
Some people hate it. Yeah, you turn into a zombie and you get your own action bar, and you can either become infected or you can find an Argent healer and be cleansed.
Yep.
And this is the third time we've had the invasion, because first it happened in patch 1.11, and then it happened in leading up to Wrath.
Indeed.
But yeah, so you were saying, everyone loves it, and it's like, it's been really controversial, because some people don't like the capital cities being a mess. Other people think it hits too close to home with the pandemic. Other people are happy the event is back, but wish the rewards like the undead slaying sets would be back, that it needs more rewards. And other people are just like, yeah, I'm really happy I can, become a zombie and just do something different and fun for a few weeks. So where are you on this?
I feel like, so I did not really personally myself experience these events in the past, so I feel like it's cool that this is here right now. And because of how the game is, it's with flying enabled and lots of other cities, I don't think it's that bad that it's like that. I don't think it should be too much of an inconvenience to people. I think it does make it difficult to be in those cities, but I feel like you don't really have to be in them, and it's meant to be for a period, and it affects everything that you do in a way. And I don't know. Sometimes things being a mess is fun. I don't know.
Yeah, I feel like, I mean, it's been over 10 years since we had the Wrath pre-patch, so a lot of people have not experienced one of these, so I think it's okay to experience it for a few times, and then if it's not in everywhere, it's just limited to capital cities, then, you know, especially just Azeroth capital cities, then I'm sure you could go to, you know, a city that's more abandoned, that's not affected, and do things like, you know,
Yeah,
the auction
like
house there if you really want that.
I'm sure places like Borealis will have an auction house added to them. I mean, I'm not 100% sure, but usually they do that, right? Like when expansions are
Well, there's
outdated.
also like Shatrath, you know,
That too,
has
true.
has one.
Yeah.
Um,
So I feel like you can find other cities to be at if you don't like it, and I think it's cool to have it there as an event. It would be different if
yeah.
it's like that from now on, but
One of the devs also clarified that the attacks won't be going 24/7. It will be, they say it will cycle this time instead of being up all the time. Players can only become zombies via NPCs for a bit every couple of hours. Um, and they have to like make an effort to keep the zombie train rolling via player actions. So I guess the idea is that you know there won't be easy ways to become a zombie nonstop. Now I'm sure I guess there could be dedicated people that are, you know, trying to infect everyone and keep the chain going, but it's, you know, that would take a lot of work to
mhm.
do.
I guess
So,
people with the Longboy can now sell auction house services, like
oh yeah, that's true.
hiding in a cave, selling auction house services. Oh, hiding in my garrison, nobody can infect
Yeah,
you. Selling
exactly.
auction house services. I mean, wait, don't we have an auction house in the garrison already? If you completed
I
that
thought
quest line thing?
yeah, I thought so. And like I don't think Mr. Pandaria is going to be affected by, you know, zombies either.
That's true as well.
So there are probably a lot of different places you could go.
Yeah, so
I
you're
will say
safe at the
though,
garrison then.
yeah, Garrison getting extra, you know, use.
Yeah, now those items to upgrade your base to have an auction house might suddenly become more expensive. They're actually already really expensive, some of those parts.
Yeah. I was gonna say that I do agree with the people saying there could be more rewards, although maybe it's not yet finished. Because we got those really cool, like, paladin looking sets back in the day, and there were also things in Wrath, like the Haunted Memento. Now, we data mined updated versions of these in Shadowlands. Like, Haunted Memento is the thing where you can have it in your bags and the little ghost follows you around. But we haven't actually seen these on the PTR yet. And there's always a few items, like even in Legion, there was that like demon toy you could get. I think something with the cultists. So it would be nice if there was a similar flavor item from Shadowlands, but that doesn't seem to be in yet.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah,
We
I'm
haven't seen
happy
any
it's
rewards
back.
related to it, right?
Uh, well, the Ice Crown NPCs drop a few things,
Mm-hmm.
but nothing from the zombies so far.
Yeah.
I will say though that so far on the PTR, I'm glad it's chaotic because we recently went through the AQ gates, and that was another, you know, iconic moment people
Mm-hmm.
remember from WoW's history. And because the war effort, you know, was so min-maxed and people are so much stronger, they know how to play. I feel like a lot of the magic was taken out of, you know, the chaos of the 10-hour war, and it seemed kind of anticlimactic. So I'm glad that the zombie invasion has seemed to capture some of its original magic better than AQ.
Mm-hmm. Indeed. I hope so too.
But yeah, why don't we talk a bit about the Ice Crown NPCs, as that is something we know has some rewards attached to it so far.
Mm-hmm. And potentially some implications too.
Yeah, yeah. So, because the helm has been shattered, a lot of undead NPCs from past raids and dungeons have returned, and they are running all around Icecrown, and you can kill them, and they drop loot that are direct references to loot from their original tables. So, for example, Professor Putricide is running around, and he drops the minuscule abomination in a jar, which is a reference to the tiny abomination in a jar. And we have all sorts of bosses, from Icecrown Citadel, from Naxxramas, Halls of Reflection, Forge of Souls, Utgard Keep. It just goes on and on. So it's interesting how they are all back.
Yeah.
And like Annie was hinting, a lot of these NPCs were turned into undead as a result of Arthas, like, Blood Queen Lanethel. A lot of them are from Icecrown Citadel, which is where Arthas was too. And it goes back to the question of, do you think we're going to see him at the end of the expansion, if like all of these characters he touched are around in some form?
I think this definitely adds to the fact that if he would make an appearance, it's not just like a quick, oh, hello there, okay, bye. With all of these things happening around it, it definitely builds a whole like event around it, a whole reason behind it, a whole part of the storyline being very important. And I'm excited for that. I want to see how it's going to happen.
Yeah, it's also interesting because, a lot of these NPCs were like big bosses back in the day, and now
Yeah.
they're all just like running around Icecrown. It's like,
It's
oh,
so
like, did we
weird.
get so much stronger? Like, are we killing them again? Like,
Mm-hmm.
how do they keep being, raised from the dead? Could we see them again in the future after this?
Mm-hmm.
It's just interesting. Like, in Wrath, we're like, oh, we killed them. Like, the threat of them is gone, and now they just are reappearing.
Mm-hmm. That's a good point. Like,
These
we must be so much stronger if they're just killed,
Right.
outside.
Yeah, so it's also like, well, will they come back again? Like, are we going to see them in Shadowlands?
Mm-hmm.
How many times can they keep, coming
Yeah.
back to fight us?
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, as for the gear they drop, they only require level 30 after the squish. So there is pretty good catch-up gear. They seem to be on par with normal mode Nyalotha loot after the item squish, which makes this loot really powerful so far.
Mm-hmm. So
I
great for
wonder if they're
alts.
gonna, yeah, they might tweak it, but so far this seems really strong,
Mm-hmm.
better than what even pre-mades get on the beta.
Mm-hmm. Indeed. And it's also interesting to know that level 30 is level 80 exactly in that case. Or did we already know
Yeah,
that?
we didn't. We learned that recently. We finally got the official leveling conversion. But yeah,
Nice.
just to clarify, it's not like level 30 out of 120. It's level 30 out of 50.
Oh no, you actually do go back to level 30 and then you have to level to 120
Yes,
again.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
And yeah, no, that was a funny little detail. And yeah, normal Nyalotha gear would be great for my alts. So I'll take
Yeah,
that.
you're level 80 alt.
Mm-hmm. The item level conversion. So these items that are dropping are item level 100, I believe, which is then converted for being Nyalotha normal gear. So
Yeah, in the pre-patch.
yeah, around that conversion is what it is.
Yeah, we're not just getting the level squish, along with that, all the item level is being squished too.
Yep, exactly.
So for this next part, there is a story quest line associated with the pre-patch, so we should probably put the spoiler tag up. And the early part of this quest line was very controversial, lots of comments on Wowhead as a result of this. But
Okay.
it's also very satisfying, especially the conclusion.
Spoiler tag is up. Yeah, so we have
Yeah.
a quest line that is called
Yeah.
Death's Rising, and there's currently 2 weeks of progress of this quest line, which is available to play.
Yeah. So we learn a lot of things in this. Jaina and Anduin have already been captured at this point. And they also tried to capture Tyrande, but she escaped.
Yeah.
So it's nice to know that her power, she's actually doing something with her power, because I know a lot of people with Darkjar were, disappointed that she barely seemed to be able to, hold her own against Nathanos, who survived, and even though the Valkyr died. So
Mm-hmm.
it's interesting how she now was the only faction leader to escape capture.
I think it's also
Uh,
interesting because in BFA, she's kind of like been in the shadows of everything, not been special, not done anything really, kind of like been forgotten by all the other leaders. And I think it's nice that it's all starting off with showing that she is, a bit different, a bit stronger than the other people, perhaps.
yeah. Something that I thought was a little surprising, maybe it was, intended to make people kind of, cringe, was how Talia sort of learns her dad is
Oh,
alive by accident. Like, she just
yeah.
kind of overhears it, and, like, I just feel really bad for her. Like, Shaw, they're talking about the undead, and Shaw's like, if anyone can figure out how this all fits together, it's Bolvar. And Talia is like, did you say Bolvar? Bolvar Dragon? That's my father. Is he alive? And Greymane is like, Talia, I will explain, but we can't afford to let our guard down. And I'm just like, that's so, I feel so bad for her because,
Yeah.
Anduin was all like, I'll tell you when this war is over what's up with your father. And then we have that dialogue in 8-3 where Jaina is telling Anduin that Talia has visited and wants to know what's going on, and he won't see her. And now
And
Anduin
Jaina
is
even told
captured,
him
and
that she
now,
that he should say it, right? Didn't she?
yeah,
Like I feel like she told
yeah,
Andrew like you should tell her she deserves to know, and he just
yeah,
wanted to like postpone it.
yeah. And that's like another example of like Anduin trying to be nice, but just kind of making things worse. Like,
Yeah.
he doesn't want to let her know, and then he gets captured, and then Talia finds out about this in kind of a painful offhand way, and instead of sparing her, he just made things worse for her and didn't seem to realize that other people could spill that her father was alive.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so Talia knows that happened, and obviously feels kind of bad about how that all occurred.
Yep.
And meanwhile, on the Horde side, we learn a bit more about Kalia's role, which really caused a lot of controversy. Something that's interesting is that we learn that Tyrande fought off Sylvanas only in the Horde dialogue so far, not the Alliance dialogue, which was interesting. Uh, and we also learn that Kalia is not in charge of the Forsaken, but she explains why she wants to go help them, help the Horde go to Icecrown. Valera is like, Bolvar Dragon is one of the bravest heroes Azeroth has ever known. If anyone can advise us on how to defeat this menace and recover our friends, it is the High Lord. And Kalia goes, the legacy of the Lich King is forever entwined with that of my family. Though I serve only as an advisor to the Forsaken, I ask to stand with you as you face this threat. And Lorthamar goes, your voice has offered wisdom to both the Forsaken and the Horde Council. Lady Menethil, whatever comes, we will face it together. So that caused a lot of controversy because people feel that, Kalia is a bit of an outsider and doesn't, understand the struggles of the Forsaken, and, has a very different, just very different background to
Experience.
them.
Mm-hmm.
And everyone just seems to be, you know, praising her, and, they just almost like she hasn't really earned her place at the table, but is like being treated as someone that can do no wrong and is being super helpful. But at least there is some clarification that she's not in charge of the Forsaken, and it does kind of make sense why she would want to go to Icecrown and help with the legacy of her brother and all the guilt surrounding that.
What are your thoughts on this?
So I think it makes sense for her to go to Icecrown, because her brother, affected all of these people, and I can see why she has a lot of guilt. I do think that the Horde Council is being like a little uh, too chummy to her. You think that they would be more like a little like more cautious with her, especially because she acted so rashly in Before the Storm, where she didn't really tell Anduin her plans and then like showed up, and her actions enraged Sylvanas, and then it led to Sylvanas killing the Forsaken and thinking that Kalia was trying to usurp things, and like Anduin was frustrated. So it seems odd that the Horde Council is like praising her when recently she was really clumsy. Um, so
And
yeah, I don't know. It just seems like it seems like it could be handled differently, or like maybe Kalia should be talking to the Alliance as well, because she goes from being all friendly with the Alliance to like never talking to them in this quest line, and I don't know. It feels like the Horde is a little too trusting of her. Kalia is also like a little too peppy, fitting in, and it seems like maybe there needs to be more character development there. But like I do see why she wants to be involved in Ice Crown. Maybe it would have made more sense if she was talking to like Anduin as well, like trying to show both sides, instead of just diving into only talking to the Horde leaders.
do you think it is right that she does go to the Horde?
Well, like that's the thing. Like she stays neutral, as she's like a neutral NPC to the Alliance. I don't know if Blizzard is setting this up on purpose, but it does seem a little strange how everyone is so accepting for her to kind of like advise them. Like it just seems weird that an outsider that didn't belong to any faction is now like, oh, give us your wisdom. Oh, yes, we agree with you. When she wasn't even around in the storyline for much of the formative historical moments of the Forsaken.
Indeed.
So I mean, I think it makes sense for her to be involved, but maybe not as involved. Maybe Blizzard's setting it up for her to do like a big, I don't know, like drama in 10.0, like, okay, Shadowlands is over. We have some Forsaken that welcome Kalia, some Forsaken that think that she shouldn't be there. Like maybe they're trying to
like stir another,
yeah, like not overthrowing her, but just a sense of like, yeah, like we're trying to build up frustration, showing that these leaders are just falling all over her, and is it really warranted? Like, does she really understand everything about this kingdom? Like, should this person that hasn't gone through all of our struggles really be the one to lead us?
Yeah, I can definitely understand people who also might feel that way as well. Like, no, like why is she joining the Horde? She has no right.
Yeah.
She has nothing to do with the Forsaken.
Right. Like I know a lot of people would be happy if like Lillian Voss was a leader of the Forsaken, and like maybe a Kalia could advise. But yeah, I think a lot of people just prefer like an actual, or like the Alonzius Fowl, like the priest, like maybe a character that we've seen as a Forsaken through several expansions, that is also likable. Maybe that should be a better candidate for leading them, instead of one that's like, oh, I died and then it came back as like a gorgeous light infused Forsaken with like perfect skin, as opposed to the rest of us that are falling apart and exiled, and our human friends won't even talk to us, type deal.
Indeed.
But yeah, I can see this being a very controversial, interesting point in future expansions.
Which brings us to the next interesting part of a story.
Yes.
So these quests, as you complete them, they lead you to meet Nathanos. And
yes.
what happens with Nathanos?
We apparently kill him. Which is very exciting.
With Tyrande there with the killing blow. Again, giving Tyrande a more, I think, a more of a central place in the story compared to what we've had in BFA. But it's interesting because what does this mean? Is he actually dead? And like, what does actually being dead mean anyways? Because we've got Shadowlands around the corner. So, let's say he is actually dead. We will probably see him in Shadowlands then, maybe, potentially. And if he's not actually dead, what's gonna happen then? But it is still interesting that it happens. Go ahead, sorry.
Yeah, so it seems that he's like dead because when you kill him, we see a corpse.
Yeah.
And both faction leaders talk about how Tehran got the killing blow. So he's
Seems
not
confirmed then.
escaping in Azeroth. He's dead. But yeah, maybe he just got a fast track to Shadowlands. And,
Fast track.
if Sylvanas is associated with the Maw and, like, Nathanos is in the Maw, did this just, like, play into her plans again?
Mm-hmm.
Now, there is a cinematic that happens when he's at 10% health. And it's a placeholder for now, but I'm curious what will happen. Like, do we actually see Tehran get the killing blow? Does something dramatic happen where, like, I don't know, like Sylvanas goes to help Nathanos, or like he's getting away and then, we're about to be defeated and then Tehran shows up and just, like, kills him? Like, did
Yeah.
something heroic happen?
Mm-hmm.
Or like, will there be a twist where, like, we're celebrating and then he's like, haha, like, I am dead now, like, see you in Shadowlands? It's interesting. I feel like there has to be some twist for the cinematic, and if Tehran does get the killing blow, we don't see her NPC in Eastern Kingdoms, so I think there's going to be some reveal where, like, she flies out of the shadow and, kills him and then disappears.
Mm-hmm.
Because, like, if she was around helping us the entire battle, it would make sense for her to be, like the NPC turn-in or something in Eastern Kingdoms, but we don't see her there at all. So I think that she has to be, like, entering and exiting during the cinematic. I was a little concerned about I had to laugh at the dialogue options, what that the Alliance and Horde say about her afterwards.
Yeah.
Greymane, so first, like, Lorthmar is like, I cannot begrudge Tehran to whisper in for claiming the killing blow. I only hope the Night Warrior's rage remains fixed on Sylvanas. And I'm
Ooh.
just like, she was, like, the only one that didn't, like, that was not interested in the Battle of Dazar'alor. She was like, fuck this, I'm getting my own,
Yep.
powers. I'm going to fight Darkshore. And it's like, she's the only one that has been focused on Sylvanas the entire time. So, I don't know, it just felt a little hypocritical
Yeah,
how
it
everyone
seems very
else just
uncalled
wanted,
for.
yeah, everyone just wanted to, like, fight a war, and she has been she went through the ritual so she could stay focused on Sylvanas and be strong enough to survive.
Mm-hmm.
So, I just found that kind of funny. And then Greymane is like, I fear it did little to bring her peace. The power within her seems to be growing stronger, more insistent. And it's like, well, isn't this good that,
Yeah.
her power didn't, isn't that tying into what Lorthamar is just saying? Like, it's good that she's not at peace, because she's focused on Sylvanas and the Night Elf people that are still out there at large. It would be really bad if she was, like, no longer interested after killing Nathanos.
It's very
So,
strange also because it kind of like diminishes her achievement in a way because they're questioning her mental state instead of
right.
praising her for what she actually did, because landing a killing blow on Athanas isn't something that can be argued to be a bad thing, especially for the Alliance. So I don't know, feels very strange to have to question the mental state of her randomly.
Yeah, and it's like, whenever, like with Dazar'alor, no one was like, I'm going to question Anduin for,
Yeah.
leading this invasion, or, I'm going to question Jaina for, fighting this, or Mekator. And everybody's just like, oh, let's, like, scrutinize if Tyrande is okay after killing someone that we all can't stand who started a war.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like it's a little heavy-handed, especially when you consider how hot-headed Greymane can be, or how, gung-ho the Horde leaders were about, going into this war.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Especially, I mean, again, with Lorthamar, it's like, I remember him and Thalris were always like, oh, we don't like Sylvanas, but we don't want to say anything, because if we do, our people, so they were kind of trying to play both sides, so it's kind of hypocritical for him to be like, oh, like, I hope she stays focused, because it's like, well,
Mm-hmm.
you weren't, putting your neck out. She's the one that's been staying focused on Sylvanas the whole time.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, in general,
Yeah.
if they're just questioning the state, or not questioning, but, showing concern is a
Yeah.
good thing, but it's just in this context that it feels a bit off.
Yeah. Also, Kalia shows up again, sounding again a little like goody two shoes. because she's like, she's talking about how she's helped the Caldori that were turned into undeath, giving them like counsel, and she believes she has helped them find a path forward. And she says, perhaps if I spoke of them to the High Priestess, it might help ease her spirit, if only a little. Which is, you know, I think that at least she said something trying to empathize, with Tyrande. Especially because, you know, Tyrande felt really betrayed that,
Yeah.
these night elves appeared to be, you know, abandoning her and helping, Sylvanas. Um, but, you know, it's also, it just seems interesting how it's like, you know, as the outsider, she's the one talking to the night elves as opposed to the, talking, you know, the actual horde leaders talking about how they can make amends. Like, I think it would mean more to Tyrande if an actual horde leader that was, you know, responsible for some of the atrocities came and was like, okay, we're actually trying to make amends. Here's something we've been doing, with these raised night elves. Because Kalia wasn't present for that. Yeah, I kind of feel that, as Tyrande tries to understand her power, both Alliance and Horde leaders might be in for a shock because they all don't really seem to understand her frustrations and her motivations and why she feels how she does, or like how to best, communicate with her. I'm also curious what's going to happen to Dalaran. You know, the night elf that Sylvanas tried to raise. Like, we know what happened to Syrah. Yeah, we know that, like, Syrah in Shadows Rising was helping Nathanos and then, was returned to Tyrande at the end. But it makes me wonder, like, what happened to her? Like, she had such a big role in that pre-patch story.
She did. Yeah, that's a good point. Potentially more characters that we will see soon.
Yeah, I mean, maybe that could be a bridge if Kalia, you know, it tries to bring Dalaran to Tyrande. Maybe they have like a heart-to-heart. I'm not sure, but I'm curious what's going to happen, with that. It definitely feels like there's a lot of remaining storylines, and also we don't really know what happens to the night elves that, were turned into undead. Like, will they go back to, Tyrande? Will we see them hanging out in Stormwind? Are they going to stay with Kalia and the, Forsaken? Because to me, if they stay with the Forsaken, that still will make, Tyrande upset. Like, you know, for whatever reason, they've, you know, abandoned, their community. So I hope that there is more to this story because there's a lot of interesting loose, plot threads that could, you know, need to still be wrapped up. But yeah, so aside from this, we can probably take the spoiler warning off now.
And it's gone. So more into some Shadowlands things instead. The lore part.
I was gonna just say quickly that the pre-patch, this event is only one bit on the PTR. The PTR opened last Tuesday. May or may not. You know, there's a Final Fantasy thing on Tuesday as well. Kind of interesting timing.
Yeah, probably random, right?
Yeah.
They definitely didn't know.
Yeah. And instead of the just the event being up, the PTR being up means that anyone, you don't need a beta invite, anyone can test things like the class changes, the leveling squish, the customization options, the new arrow system, all that can be tested for free. So there are still a lot of bugs with the leveling system and instability, but yeah, all of that is out there, and hopefully that means a lot more people can start testing that stuff before things go live. And we still don't have a release date. But you know, we are curious, like, you know, does the PTR being up is like one more milestone to Shadowlands being out. And it always, so when do we think this is all going to hit? Like, my prediction is that like end of September we'll get the pre-patch that doesn't have the event, and then like October-ish, mid-October, we'll have the event start, and then like late November we'll have Shadowlands, but the raid and max level seasonal stuff won't be until January. That's how I think it's gonna play out. Because, well, like, I feel that they don't like having raids and big content happen over the holidays.
But didn't that happen once, like 2 years ago or something? Or it was maybe not the holidays,
actually,
but kind of close.
I think Ice Crown. I feel like Ice Crown was actually the one time when it was over the holidays with the wings unlocking.
Okay.
But I feel like they've tried to move away from that, and like
Mm-hmm.
they even have frozen like no PTR builds, no alpha builds
Mm-hmm.
during that development period.
Mm-hmm.
And it's also like with I also feel like with streaming now, how they seem to care about events and people trying out new content. Uh, a lot of people, a lot of viewers may not view as regularly. A lot of streamers may not be wanting to grind every day on Christmas, or if they do a stream, it's more like a, like Christmassy variety stream, not like a let's, run island expeditions for 8 hours to prepare for raid stream.
But there's
You
no
know,
more island expeditions, right?
yeah, yeah.
Nothing to
Like
farm.
Torga, yeah.
Yeah, JK
I
Torghast.
yeah. But yeah, I just feel that the Christmas period is weird, and especially like Blizzard is not they're not around. So I know like when there's a raid, everyone is monitoring to see if there's like an
Yeah, that's a
exploit
good
or a
point too.
balance issue, and they can't do all that stuff over the holidays.
But what are we
So
gonna do
I
for a
think
month?
I guess you can do like Covenant Renown and
Why?
Torghast.
Hmm.
But
Why?
yeah,
And change your
I never
mind and restart the next covenant, and then.
yeah. No, I definitely feel that you can do like all the early stuff in December, but for the end game seasonal stuff and the higher renown levels that unlock the like transformational soulbind abilities, that's going
Mm-hmm.
to be later on, and they're going to be spending a lot of time behind the scenes in December tuning all that max level stuff that still is really rough.
Hmm.
Like, like Covenant, like I just feel like, soul binds are just this like big question mark. Legendaries are a big question mark. We'll get to it in a few, but we've even learned that if you want like the best possible legendary, it's going to take 4 weeks to craft.
Oh yeah.
So my guess is that like there's going to be like at least 4 weeks before the raid opens between Shadowlands and the raid.
Mm-hmm.
Uh but yeah, so that's how I think it's going to be. Do you think it's going to be the same or all a bit earlier?
I'm just wondering if it's possible to push everything. Like I feel like it might make sense to have pre-patch in like end of September, as you mentioned. Maybe a little bit of a delay before event happens, and but I'm not sure if it's gonna be possible to not have a new raid until like the next year, because a whole month of nothing, or I mean, if you have pre-patch end of September, it's more like almost 2 months of not real content, and I'm wondering if they're gonna be able to pull that off. I know that there's a lot of new things. There's a new leveling system. People have to level up. People have to do dungeons, and people have to get used to the new systems. And maybe there are enough new systems and new zones and new dungeons to make that time go by. But during Christmas, I mean the holidays, sure, there are people who might not be able to play because of holidays, but there's also a lot of people who want to play a lot more because, well, they don't have school, or they might have like off time from work. So I'm wondering if it's possible to maybe push it so that the raids start mid December. When does holidays officially start for you guys?
Well, like I mean, well, like the Christmas is the 25th.
Yeah.
Um, but it's tricky. Like college people usually have off all of December, but WoW is older now, and a lot of people are with the pandemic, they're at home, but with their jobs, they're still working from home, and the US doesn't really do holidays as early as, college people
Mm-hmm.
take off. So, it could be this weird mix where the younger people are off, but then the older core WoW audience is, still working basically up to Christmas and not
Mm-hmm.
taking time off because they are,
Mm-hmm.
pandemic and job stress.
Yeah.
Um,
I think
but
it
yeah,
would
I'm
make
just
sense to open those things in January then. In that case, the first reset after January starts, maybe.
yeah, like I could see something where December is where you mess around with your covenant, you like level an alt, work on your renown, you do the covenant mini game, you hunt rares, you build up your sanctum, you focus on the mount and the campaign. And then when January hits, you can go into the raid, you know, with a few legendaries or one good legendary, and you know, maybe half of your soulbind tree unlocked, and you've had a few resets to see if you like the covenant system. If you don't like it, make another alt that's a different covenant, and then take it more seriously. But yeah, I just think it would be bad if, like, you know, say you have like normal raid open, I don't know, like December 5th. And then, you know, that means Mythic and the race starts December 12th. And usually things last beyond the first reset. And then that would be the week of the 19th, and that's Christmas week. So it's like if you're doing an event, you know, event staff usually takes off for Christmas.
Yeah.
And then if there are balancing issues that have to be done with, like, you know, legendary or soulbind interaction, something being OP, Blizzard is then looking at that stuff. And normally their holiday party is around like the 15th of December, and then they sort of, you know, start easing things down. So usually by like the 19th or so, they're you know, not doing hardcore work. They're usually off at that point. And then it's like, okay, well, you know, Blizzard isn't around tuning stuff. So I just feel like you could start running into staffing issues for events and also like quality assurance if it runs into the later half of December.
Is there any risks with the wait where it forces people to spam something very repeatable, such as island expeditions?
I mean, I think that hopefully, if, I mean, well, we've seen Blizzard not, you know, adjust things, but I think that they'll start getting a sense if something is spammable, like when people start doing, you know, like how to prep for raids, and they'll probably adjust something if they see people doing that, because it's also not good publicity if there's a new expansion and they have all these, you know, covenant specific abilities and quests, and if you tune into Twitch and it's just someone, you know, farming something really boring and repetitive the entire day, like that's not making the game look really exciting, especially a new game.
No, I mean, I was watching the stream of the Island Expeditions, and that made me want to play WoW. Yeah, no, it's gonna be interesting, because not only that, I just realized if the raid comes out first week of January, let's say, that's still a lot of pressure for people who want to raid to use the holidays in a way to prepare for the raid opening.
It is, but I mean, we've seen like the Zara lore and Ny'alotha both came out in January.
Like that? Oh yeah, it did.
So I mean, maybe they figure. I guess that seems better than having to, you know, like raid on Christmas.
What week did it come out in January? Do you remember?
I feel like it was like late-ish January, like the 20th, around there.
Okay. It's gonna be interesting.
But yeah, so I think I also feel that Blizzard has tried to stagger things out more with like the streaming interview, and then after the streamer does an interview, we see that piece of content on the Shadowlands beta, and then they do an official post on it. I feel like they're trying to think about how their content is presented better, how it's revealed. So I don't think they would, you know, since they care about streaming perceptions more, I don't think they would want to just see people streaming something boring or unexpected nonstop when their game is so fresh, with how they care about like, oh, you know, launch concurrent records. I don't think they want to do a press release talking about how, you know, so many people tuned in for the launch of Shadowlands on Twitch, and then people check it out and it's all like, oh, I keep seeing the same Torghast floor on like all the top streams. This is,
I mean, that's a headline, isn't it? Like, oh my god, this game, everyone is just doing this thing for straight up a month, 12 hours a day.
Yeah.
I heard headlines are good, even if they're bad.
So, yeah, hopefully it's not that, but I also feel like they're going to announce the release date or the pre-patch date at Gamescom, just because I feel like we're running out of time for them to announce something before it is the actual final quarter of the year, and Gamescom is at the end of August, right?
Yes, it is.
So I feel like they're going to announce it there, because, or we don't really have a, I guess they could do another Shadowlands developer stream on a random day. But we're sort of running out of time for them to announce something coming in 2020.
I'm so curious about how Gamescom will run as well.
Yeah, because it's all online.
Yeah, it's the first, I think first, virtual Gamescom. And Gamescom is one of those really old events. It's been going on for a while. So it's going to be really interesting to see how they pull it off. And I think BlizzCon will probably make use of the experience that other events are being ran to see how they will run it. Because we're having a virtual BlizzCon too, right? In January, I think, or February. Or maybe there was no month specified, but in 2021.
Yeah, just early 2021,
yeah.
Some sort of community event.
It's gonna be interesting. Oh, it's not gonna be called BlizzCon?
No, it's like a slightly smaller scale, but I don't think it's delayed BlizzCon. It's just like
yeah.
I don't know, community gathering event. They clarified at the investor call that they were doing an event in early 2021, but they didn't come up with a name or a specific date yet.
Gotcha.
So, but yeah, hopefully we'll know sooner than later. It's always fun to speculate on these things. Like I think Legion, for example, the pre-patch was actually really long, but they made it into like several like pre-patches because I think if you pre-ordered, you could access the Demon Hunter earlier. So it was like 3 weeks of system changes and then like 3 weeks of the Demon Hunter, and then that made it seem, instead of being like, oh, we have 6 weeks of nothing, it made it seem like there was always something new you could look forward to.
I mean, that is a good point as well. We do have the level squish, which I think in itself is pretty huge. I think people will be interested to see their own level.
And all the ability is coming back. Like, even if they're like, just random utility things. It's like, oh, it's cool that you're getting like utility back for your
like abilities back in general. Yeah. That's true. Yeah, you get some more binds to click.
Yeah.
I need to make space. I don't have space right now for more binds. But yeah, it's going to be I think quite maybe even overwhelming for some that everything will feel different. You'll have
corruptions.
Have some changes in binds, abilities, and corruptions are disabled.
You'll also have to like care about your rotation instead of just, corruption proc.
I think that's a good thing.
Yeah, definitely, it is.
Yeah, that's gonna be a good thing.
Yeah. So why don't we talk about some more Shadowlands changes we learned? The first thing...
I'm gonna...
Oh, we can go ahead.
I'm gonna run to get some water because it's really hot here in Sweden, although Perk called it cute. Basically, when I told her it's 30 degrees Celsius, or it was during the day, it's actually colder now. Apparently that's not very warm for people in California. But for me, it's very warm, and I finished my water, so I want to get some more. In the meantime, we could jump into the next topic, which are legendaries, and I'll let this slideshow run with how it looks in the profession tab. So I'll be right back.
We learned that legendaries can be crafted at multiple item levels in Shadowlands. So we think a lot of people were under the assumption that you knew that you could craft the legendaries in Shadowlands and you needed the base item from someone that was a profession crafter. But the bit where the item level of this base item could vary and had 4 tiers, I don't think that was really well known until we highlighted this post. So basically how this works is that you need to get a base item crafted by a tailor, leatherworker, or blacksmith, and then that crafter gives the base item to you, and then you go to the rune forger and you customize it with the power you want and the secondary stats you want. Now the catch is that the base item, there are 4 recipe ranks, and you need to go to the crafter to get this base item. And the crafter cannot just make all 4 ranks instantly. The crafter needs to craft enough of the lower eye level item to unlock the recipe for the higher item level version of the same item. Plus, we also learned that to craft the higher versions, you need these components that enchanters make. So if you're wondering if enchanting is worth it, in the expansion, you might want to have an enchanter handy on an alt that can help make these items to fuel your legendaries.
I'm
And
back.
another component, hey,
Keep going.
all right, so another component, in addition to needing a crafter that has, made enough of these items to craft the best version, you need more of this legendary currency called Soul Ash to make the best version. And you will not have enough Soul Ash at the start of the expansion to just throw it at the highest possible version. We did the calculations, and if you complete the 2 available Torghast wings every week on layer 8, you will get 100 Soul Ash per week. And the top tier legendary requires 400 Soul Ash, so that means that you can, a month into the expansion, you can make 4 like baby legendaries, or you can save up and get enough Soul Ash for 1 powerful legendary. So, it depends what you want to do. Like, do you want to have a variety of weaker legendaries and you just care about having, interesting, a variety of interesting effects you can swap on like a case by case basis? Or do you want to, target one really good one and want the highest possible item level on your gear? And, maybe like what happens if you go for like the best highest item level legendary and then that gets, nerfed going into Mythic Week, and then you're like, oh, like I should make this other legendary. So it's there's a lot of unknowns with this system. Also, Blizzard has not made any blue posts on this, and I feel like it would have been really good because a lot of people were very surprised that the system exists, and there were many questions like, well, if I make like a baby legendary, can I later upgrade it, or do I have to,
Make it
go to
from
the
scratch.
crafter?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm. It's just really. I am a bit puzzled. Blizzard has not mentioned the system at all because legendaries are such a hot topic, and like everyone asked questions about like the legendary acquisition rate. I think I asked about that at the event. A lot of people are curious how it works, and this tier system was never really discussed at all.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Do you think it could be
and it
because covenants have been questioned so much?
Well, like I remember I specifically asked how the Legion legendary system would be different than the Shadowland system and how acquisition would be different, and I feel
Mm-hmm.
like that could have been a good opportunity for them to have been like, well, um, they talked about how you craft them so you have control, but they didn't mention anything like, oh, they also talked about like how fast you could craft them, and I feel like if they're talking about how fast you craft them, they should have said something like, "Oh, you can craft different
How
versions, and
often?
like weaker
Yeah.
ones you get faster, but like the best one will take the longest." They didn't get into any of that. So I feel like that would have been something good because this post was obviously very people were very interested in this. Raiders especially trying to figure out how many legendaries they can grind before a raid opens, and if it's better to have several legendaries. You can swap one in if you need the utility, or if, the best DPS one gets nerfed, you have the second best, proc, or if you should, save up and get one good one at least before the raid opens.
Well, then it's good that you
Um,
have a whole month to wait until the raid
exactly.
opens. There
Yeah,
you
at least
go.
you'll get
That's
one
what
good
we'll
one.
do for a month. Figure
Yeah.
out which legendary or which legendaries we want to invest in.
Yeah, I almost wonder if someone will be like, they're just holding on to all their stuff, reading the hot fixes every week, and then being like, okay, like which hasn't been touched in the first month. That is this safe to craft this legendary?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, like I do feel like it will cause awkwardness if someone makes a legendary week 1, and then it gets nerfed, and they're like, oh well, they're like, oh, I made this bad eye level one. It's just for the effect, and now the effect is nerfed. So what do I do with this legendary? I don't want this one anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, I also feel that a lot of people will not really understand that there are legendary crafting tiers, especially because the marketing surrounding legendaries has been like Legion legendaries, but you craft them. And with the Legion legendaries, there was just the legendary. Like you didn't, get it wasn't like it dropped and then you could choose different eye levels. It just was like at the start of Legion, it dropped in the world and you got the legendary. So a lot of people, I feel, aren't going to realize there are crafting tiers, and they might craft a tier 1 version and not realize if they wait a few weeks they could craft a better version. Like, I'm sure the raiders will all know, but casual people will just be like, oh, I want to craft a legendary ASAP, and not realize they could craft better versions of all this.
I feel like, no, there's no way. Is there a way? Is Blizzard going to make you craft and then realize that you don't get to use it for the next rank? Like, surely there must be an upgrade system, don't you think?
Yeah, I hope there's an upgrade system. It's very unclear right now.
Yeah, it is unclear.
In the UI, like right now with the UI, like we showed on the screen, it's like you plonk the thing in the center, you plonk the base item, and then you go, power, secondary, secondary. There doesn't seem to be an upgrade UI anywhere. But yeah, if Blizzard ever continues doing the developer interviews, I think it would be really good if people were like, hey, so, this, multi-tier legendary system appeared, what is it? Why do they have tiers? And can we upgrade?
Actually, why do we have multiple legendary levels? That makes it less special. Like, I just realized that's less special. Like, people, when they have legendaries, they specifically also normally remember the item level of those items because it's a special thing. And now it's like, they come in different levels.
Now the more I think about it, the more I'm pretty sure they have to have an upgrade system because, like as the expansion progresses, your gear will get to be a higher item level. So it makes sense that if the legendaries stick around, like maybe when the next raid comes around, there will be like rank 4 and 5. And then it's like, well, what are you going to do if you have a legendary as rank 1? Like, do you have to keep crafting these every patch? That would be really unfair and annoying.
I'm just looking at it again. I think one thing which would make it a bit better, maybe, is to make it so that when you craft the rank 2, it requires the rank 1 item.
But so
it's basically an upgrade then at that point. But well, okay, no, that could be a problem because if it's bound to a person and they don't have the profession,
the enchanting component requires more for rank 4 than rank 1. So I guess you're like, oh, you need like the rank 1 mats to make a rank 4. But yeah, it's like what's gonna happen if they keep wanting to increase the item level of the legendaries? Does that mean that you have to craft all your legendaries again each patch? That sounds like it would be, really bad if it's like, oh, well, now I have to craft, rank 6 versions of all of them, and my rank, 4 versions are all obsolete. And then you have like a bag full of legendaries. It feels like you need an upgrade mechanism somehow.
What if there's a scrapping system, which gives you items back?
Yeah, or like the soul ash back. Like maybe you could scrap the legendary and you get like a lot of soul ash that could
kind of like expel them.
But just for the legendaries.
Please, no scrapping system for everything. I'm tired of being bloated with a bunch of items from like all different professions that I'm never gonna use, and that are worth like 50 silver on the auction house.
Yeah. But yeah, I would be curious to know about the upgrade system, and I think because legendaries are such a contested topic, having a blue post explain what's going on with this upgrade system would be good. Also, as people were sharing information with us, they're like, oh, it says in the tooltip that you need to craft, 20 helms to get the rank 3 recipe, but it bugged, and we got this in a few, so the system itself seems very buggy and incomplete. And in that case, I think it definitely needed a blue post to introduce players to it, since you can be confused very easily by all of this. But yeah, like nobody seemed to know that legendaries had ranks. Like the people writing the guides and the opinion pieces on Wowhead and coordinating that were all like, excuse me, like they have ranks? Like what do you mean they have ranks? Like this is such a weird new concept. Legendaries have ranks.
I guess what they're trying to do is the gear that we have right now, as tailors and blacksmithing and maybe jewel crafting with their rings as well. The system that we have there is that we discover a recipe, and then we have to craft the rank 1 version. It's not called rank 1, but the lower item level version, we have to craft it to get the next.
Yeah, it is rank 1. So you have to
are they
craft
called
the rank
yeah.
1.
Yeah.
Yeah, you craft rank 1 10 times to unlock rank 2, and then you craft that 20 times to unlock rank 3, and so on.
Wait, what profession is that?
Any profession. So like
well,
the
tailoring is just once, right? Like you craft the item once and you get the next version.
No. You craft the item 10 times and you get the next version.
The hands and the legs with the sockets.
Wait, I think we're talking about two different things. I'm talking about the legendaries.
Oh, yeah, I'm talking about how it is now in BFA.
Yeah, okay, sorry. Yeah, it's like, so like the legendaries in Shadowlands are like BFA, but you have to craft them a lot more in Shadowlands.
So you have to craft a legendary 10 times?
Yeah, you craft the base item 10 times.
Oh, okay.
Not the legendary. So like you get the crafter gives you this like white quality item, and then you take that item and then you customize all the stuff on it.
Gotcha.
So the part that happens 10 times is crafting the white quality item, not the part where the player has to like put their powers and everything on it. That step is just, that's like separate.
Yeah, so my point with the whole thing was that it feels like it's a legendary, like an upgraded version of what we have now, because it's a similar thing where we discover a recipe by crafting something. And then now they made it legendary, so obviously it makes sense that it takes more crafts to actually discover them. And then there's a few more components to it, putting things together, making it more fancy, more legendary.
Yeah. To further complicate things, just to remind people, everything we're talking about is just to create the base item. Any player can go out and like unlock the powers, and those powers are like recipe book drops around the world with very specific means of acquisition. So for example, like the Warlock Portal Pant legendary power is from a PvP vendor. Or like there are 4 recipes, 4 legendary powers that require Honored with Shadowlands factions. So if you want the power, the powers are not tied to crafting professions. You don't need materials to get the powers. You just need to like target specific activities to acquire the power, and once you've acquired them for good. There's no like, you must, put this power on like 10 items to unlock another power. It's just like, if you want like the utility one, go do PvP. If you want, a lot of like hunter ones are tied to the Huntsman boss in Castle Nathria, which actually just made me think, if certain powers are tied to bosses, you're not going to be able to get them like leading up to the raid.
Oh.
That's interesting.
Yeah, that's actually a good point.
Like maybe the really OP ones that are tied to the endgame content you can't get, and you have to, choose between the basic ones the first week. That's interesting. But yeah, so 2 systems, crafting the base item just for crafters, and then collecting the legendary powers, which is something anyone can do.
Interesting. I saw a comment in the chat as a response to the part of upgrading legendaries actually being common. We did that with the Corruption Cloak, which is absolutely right. I guess the part that makes it sound different is that it's not directly an upgrade. It's more that there's just different levels of the same item existing separately from each other.
Right, so, and you get to choose which version you want.
You want to craft,
If you want like several basic ones or one a higher item level version for the same amount of cost.
Yeah, so you have the eye level 190, you have the 210, 225, 235, and they're all just separate items. They're not upgraded from each other, at least for now. Maybe they will become upgradable in the future. Maybe you can just, if you have the rank 1 version of it, maybe you can add, what was the currency called? Soul Ash?
Yeah, Soul Ash.
Maybe you can add Soul Ash of some sort in a way to upgrade it. We don't know, but it's just interesting to see a legendary separately having, being multiple items potentially in your bags with different item level.
it's just interesting to be like, do you want one legendary that requires 400 soul ash, or do you want four legendaries that are weaker that take 10 soul ash? Like we haven't had that. People haven't had that choice to be like, I actively want the worst legendary. Like, yes, your cloak can be a lower item level because you skip some weeks, but it's just interesting that people playing at the same time can be like, oh, I want several bad ones versus one really good one with my currency.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I'm just curious if you can upgrade them, and I think a blue post on this would be really good.
Mm-hmm. Probably something that we will see soon, if enough people ask questions, or if they just decide to, hey, we wanted to share some information.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
In other legendary news, Legion legendary effects are disabled for everyone in Shadowlands. The set bonuses are flagged as legacy, meaning that they don't work for any character, regardless of their level. Previously, we've seen that in BFA, when you are above 115, they don't work, but it still left them usable for characters in lower levels, and it was pretty good for alts or twinks, but that is all gone in the Shadowlands pre-patch.
Yep.
However, Thunder Fury and Dragon Wrath, all of that still works, just not the Legion ones.
Why do you think they decided to target those?
I think there were several reasons. One is that a lot of the effects are returning as Shadowlands powers, so I think they wanted them to stay special as a Shadowlands power. Another reason is balance. If you can use these partially through the leveling process, maybe people would feel like, oh, your character should go do Legion up to a certain point so they can get this OP legendary, and then, once they have it, it makes, leveling so much easier. Or maybe they figured that, didn't they have the problem with islands where there were twinks, and if you had certain legendaries, they were like really good at island farming or power leveling characters.
They were.
Maybe they're worried about that. Like, maybe a character would be with scaling like really OP at farming a raid if they had Legion legendaries, and then they don't want people to feel bad if they, level in Shadowlands and they lose their Legion effects. Like a big part of Blizzard, was saying we don't want people to feel bad that, they level up and they lose things. We want you to feel like you're getting stronger, not weaker. Mm-hmm. And, if, for example, a twink could farm old raid things for transmog, but if they hit the Shadowlands level and it got disabled, they would feel weaker. They don't want that psychological impact.
Yeah. I think that makes sense. Also, since there is a level squish, it would mean that they would have to potentially retune some of those things, and they probably don't want to have to retune things to be, afraid of it being too powerful. So yeah, it makes sense to make it just grayed out. It's not working anymore, and also steal some of the abilities for the next expansion.
Yep.
Put it in different places. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like a lot of people were like, oh, I wanted to make 110 Speed Warrior for farming old raids, and with this information, I won't do that anymore because, it won't work. Mm-hmm. And, a lot of other people were like, I wanted to use this for time walking, but I don't think I can anymore.
Maybe they should enable them in time walking at least?
I mean, it's like time walking is so easy to me, I don't think I feel like, let people have their fun in time walking.
Exactly, that's what I mean. Like, legacy effects should be enabled in time walking. Yeah. I think that actually makes sense. Like, you have the tag legacy, which is always disabled, except when you're time walking.
Yeah. But yeah, I think that the big issue they didn't want this was just, like, there's so many, like, factors in Shadowlands, like Covenant abilities, and, like, I feel like people could abuse these, like, not abuse, but people could find clever interactions, like, we keep seeing the Rex Troy videos of, like, oh, I stacked, all of these corruptions, or, I one-shot someone that was, while I was naked on my paladin, and I feel like it could be, I don't know, some weird OP thing where it's like, oh, on my not max level character, I equip these legendaries, and now I'm doing like massive damage in this area.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of Rex Troy, he just made me realize that socketing my gear may in fact not actually make me stronger, and I'm sad.
Yeah, we covered that this morning, and like it wasn't just like an offhand observation. Like I was really impressed how he was showing footage of like, okay, I'm using these pants and I'm hitting for this much, and I'm now equipping the same pants but with
With
a
the
socket,
socket,
and I'm hitting for less. This totally makes sense.
yep, I was mind blown, mind blown.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I mean, we don't really talk about PvP a ton on the show, but I think that if they could improve the scaling system or at least make it easier to understand what is actually an upgrade with this scaling system, that would be good. Because to me, it's kind of weird if something that has a socket or a higher item level is actually a decrease, making you weaker in
Mm-hmm.
PvP.
Mm-hmm.
That to me does not
Yeah,
feel good.
I'm glad you said PvP there. Just to clarify, this was in a PvP environment. In PvE,
Yes.
you will definitely become stronger if you have more sockets. This
Right.
this
This
is
is
due
just
to
like the scaling.
yeah, this is
Yeah.
due to PvP scaling, which is still a bit of a mystery. We don't know exactly how it works. We just know it exists. And
Right.
apparently, in PvP scaling, adding a socket to an item makes you not necessarily become stronger, as Rex Troy was studying and showing in his one of his latest videos.
Um, Another controversial topic, moving away from legendaries, is
Oh.
there is this item called the Mirror of Envious Dreams, and it's been around since April, and people have been giving feedback on it since April about issues with it, and it's been a few months and it hadn't been updated, so we thought it made sense to finally draw attention to it. Maybe it was overlooked. And this is an item from Revendreth, and you have to actually, it's not account wide, you actually have to loot this from Revendreth to use it. But the issue is that it can transform your character armor into either the Tomb of Sargeras like tier 6 appearance, or full tier 3 from Nax Ramus. Now this has caused a lot of controversy because the item doesn't have a cooldown. So, you could essentially keep spamming until your character is wearing full tier 3. And you can't get the original tier 3 appearance now because original Nax Ramus is gone. And you can only get the pieces through the black market auction house, so it's a really big status symbol. Now, this has been around in its current form since April 16th. So we assume that since Blizzard hadn't changed it, they're happy with it. But, when we highlighted it, people were like, a lot of people were upset. Now,
Mm-hmm.
I do want to highlight that there are still reasons to use the Black Market Auction House set. One reason is that you can, like, modify the pieces so, you can hide your shoulders, or you can, mix and match. So, like, half the set is tier 3, half the set's something else. Like, there's more status in mixing and matching pieces. And another thing is that because the items themselves are not class specific, and the class restrictions only came from the Nax Ramus quest being class specific, the items themselves, if you get like a druid item from the black market auction house and you're a rogue, you can use it and transmog it. So you can have like really funny things such as, a rogue running around in druid gear, using, doing melee attacks, things that weren't, intended back in the day.
Uh,
And you can't get that with the toy.
the
You
toy
can,
gives
that's
you
only
your class's tier 3,
right.
correct?
So
Mm-hmm.
like on a rogue, you would be with the toy, you get full bone scythe.
Mm-hmm.
But if you are a rogue with the black market auction house, you could decide, like I actually have full tier 3 from original Nax and the auction house. I could be like, well, I want a demon hunter effect, so I'll use like the shoulders and the gloves and the belt, but I'll, wear my own shirt with it
Mm-hmm.
to be more unique. Or I could say, well, actually I want to look more interesting, so on my rogue I'm going to, collect Dreamwalker, which is the druid set, and run around stealthing in this very nature looking robe. And that's something I wouldn't be able to do with this Mirror of Envious Dreams. So there are still like status things you can do collecting it with the black market auction house, but a lot of people seem to think it's not enough to make up for the fact that people can be walking around in, you know, full tier 3 essentially for free now. Indefinitely. I feel like it's okay to give the appearance through a toy, but the issue is that the cooldown is not enough. Like maybe it should be more limited, like, you know, once an hour, and have more old transmog sets in the mix, so, you know, you can't spam until you get tier 3. Like maybe there are, you know, 10 different sets you could get, and tier 3 would be a cool perk, like that you know, coin, the Halloween
coin of many
the coin
faces or something. Yeah.
Yeah, like maybe it should be more like that, where you can be many things, and if you get tier 3 it's fun, but the cooldown is long enough that you can't spam until you get the one you want.
Yeah,
especially with things like, oh, the long boy is, you know, a sign of prestige and, you know, gold, and, you know, they will be harder to get once the expansion ends. It feels strange that something that tier 3, which, you know, was removed and turned into a black market auction thing, like the long boy, is now like easier to get the appearance of. So maybe the item was unfinished and Blizzard forgot to add a cooldown, and, you know, maybe re-highlighting it will add a cooldown to it. We'll keep a look for the next build.
Yeah, so I feel like I have heard a lot of people's opinions on this who are very against it, and I feel in the swarm of people, my opinion is quite unpopular. I don't think there's anything wrong with the toy having this type of effect, just like Perk was describing. It's still just like an image, a buff that you'll have, which can probably be clicked off as well. I do think that it lacks a cooldown. I think there should be a cooldown. I don't think necessarily that it should be for days. You know, maybe even just adding a few hours or something. Maybe 1 hour even would do something, just so that it can't be spammed. Let's say if you're doing a dungeon or raiding, and if you die, you should lose it. Like, you know, you shouldn't be able to just put it back on again. If you have a shitty looking transmog, then you should have to suffer it if you've died, you know, like that kind of thing. And I think also in arenas as well, you can't use toys. Or actually, I think there's some special toys that you can, but in general, you can't really use.
This also isn't. I want to clarify. It's not a toy, so it's effectively not account wide. So like, if you have a level 20 alt, it's not like a toy in your toy box that you can click on. You must be like level 50 plus and go to the spot in Revendreth and loot this item in order to get the effect.
Okay.
So,
I am okay though if it does, like Perk also mentioned, add other sets to make tier 3 a little bit more rare. But I don't think having the toy means that now you have tier 3. It doesn't feel the same. And I think the biggest prestige with having tier 3 is honestly showing off the original pieces, especially if you have all the pieces that are not even available on the black market auction house, which Perk does, you know, big flex. So yeah. I think it's okay. Like, I feel like I was personally more upset about the tier 3 being added on the black market auction house in the first place, than going from black market auction house to like a potential toy. I think that first step is a lot more upsetting, and now we've gone through that already, and I don't think this step is that big of a deal, because I could imagine people from back then were like, hey, what do you mean people can now buy tier 3? Like, that's not fair. And I completely agreed with them, and I didn't get any of those original pieces myself, but being a toy, I think it's fine. I do think there should be a cooldown, but I think it's fine. And if it's not gonna have a cooldown, can I have some of my other favorite toys also be removed of their cooldowns, please? Because there's some toys that are great that last for 5 minutes and have like an hour cooldown, and this needs to be discussed, Blizzard.
Yeah, like, I'm pretty sure the cooldown was just an oversight, because there are like actual legitimate toys that give you the appearance of like a Bastion aspirant, like a cool armor set, and they have cooldowns. So it would be weird if some toys had cooldowns but this one didn't. I also want to highlight that another, what I think was like a more serious, had more of an impact, was when the Legion account-wide transmog system was created, because with the black market auction house in MoP, you know, you had to get that item on your character that you wanted to transmog it on. But
Yeah.
then when the account-wide system came, all of a sudden, like your like alts that hadn't you know, were not max level could use that appearance as well, and that went to the non-class specific appearance. So, you know, if I made like a level 5 rogue, I could, you're like, I don't know, like if I had like a, you know, rogue that didn't have the aesthetic collected on the black market auction house, that alt could use it. Or, you know, my druid could use the bone scythe even though she never did the collection or raided Naxxramas. So to
Yep.
me, that kind of blurs the lines even more. But again, that also adds more prestige to the people that got the original set versus using this item, because they have the benefit of not only mixing and matching for transmog, but having that transmog be account wide, not just for alts of that class, but alts of that armor type. Like if you have the priest faith set, your mage and warlock alts can also use that faith set, because it's just a cloth set according to the game, not a priest set.
Mm-hmm. I just saw
So,
one
you
of
know,
my toys that I used to like a lot, but realized that it's a waste of time because it only lasts for 5 minutes, and I confirmed that the cooldown seems to be 30 minutes or above Sindori. I always wanted to look like a blood elf, and that toy only lasted 5 minutes with a 30
yeah.
minute cooldown. So if I cannot look like a blood elf, then I don't think people should look like they have tier 3 either for more than 5 minutes.
Yeah. So, yeah,
Petition.
that's where it is. But yeah, I think it's okay to give the appearance for a little bit of time. Maybe it's like a tease to get people to actually care about the auction house, but I think it needs
Yeah.
a cooldown.
Yeah, that's a good point too.
Um,
Having like a tease like that might make you like, hey, you know what? I'm just gonna go and get it.
yeah.
I'm gonna go and buy it from the black market auction house. I think it's okay, but it should be last a short time with a longer cooldown than how much it lasts, and I think I'm okay with it.
Yeah. So hopefully next build we'll see a cooldown or a change. But yeah,
As he
until then.
commented in chat, you can look like a blood elf all the time. Just make a blood elf. Not if you play for
Right.
the
Oh
alliance,
no.
okay?
Yeah. Well, a void elf, yes, you can now.
Actually,
make a
you
void
can.
elf.
That's true. That's true. But that happened right as
Brightpaw
I
has
started playing
returned,
PvP, and I want
sitting
my
on
human
everything.
trinkets. I would have back in the day
So
though.
yeah.
But yeah.
We also wanted to highlight a few other transmog things quickly that had more of a positive reaction. Um, there is a black parasol that you can get
Mm-hmm.
as a toy from Revendreth, and this appears to be a toy that anyone can get because it's tied to an achievement. But there does seem to be a once there seems to be a few recolors, and one is Venthyr specific because it appears to be tied to the weekly Venthyr party you can throw.
Oh.
So I think that's still pretty cool though. Like, you know, two tints are available for everyone, but then one tint will be the Venthyr specific one, so you don't feel you know, you feel like you get something special. But if you like the aesthetic, you know, you can get the toy in a different color. And there's this really neat effect where you can float, but floating takes anima, and it has this, you know, cool bloody effect. So it looks very dramatic.
Mm-hmm. I like it a lot. I mean, I don't think we have any kind of umbrella already in the game, or do we?
We've had a few with mop, I think. I think one was the offhand, but I don't think you can put it above your head.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was like the something of Chi-Ji.
Mm-hmm.
I could be mistaken. Uh,
Oh.
I seem to remember something from. Oh yeah, the umbrella of Chi-Ji. It is from archaeology, and it was a BOA offhand.
Mm-hmm.
It could be above your head if you were in a combat pose.
Gotcha.
And also if you were like floating in the air, but normally it just was like on your side, with it standing in front of you, which was a little weird. I know a lot of people have actually responded to this news article asking if the umbrella could be put above your head. I don't know if you want to show a picture of it quickly, because it's actually um I put it there. It's actually really pretty. It looks very unique. It's got like a crane painting on it and mountains, and the underside has like very beautiful cloud scroll work. And yeah, I think it would be cool if it could be turned into an umbrella above your head.
Wait, I'm not sure if I can see which screenshot you wanted to click. From what user is it?
Any of them really.
Okay. Just to show the pattern, you mean?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, now I
Yeah.
understand. Okay, let me put it on the screen. Here we go. Yep. I actually didn't really realize this umbrella is quite detailed and quite big too.
Yeah. So it would be cool if that could get the stylish parasol treatment.
Mm-hmm. And even underneath, it's quite detailed design. Let me show a picture that shows under it. Because it's got two different colors. It's got one outside design and then one inside design. Pretty cool, actually. Why have I never used this offhand? Maybe I don't have it.
Yeah, it's so beautiful. Yeah, it's archaeology from Mist, and it's account-wide, so it's pretty beautiful. I like it.
I need to take a look if I have it. I know I'm still missing a few transmog pieces from archaeology. I'm not sure if this is one of them. Maybe.
Yeah, there's like I really feel that Mist has a lot of kind of overlooked sets. Like even the Mogu set from Mogushan Vaults. I think it's cool that the initial raid got armor themed after it, which wasn't the case for something like Emerald Nightmare and Legion. So I think there's like a lot of subtle, interesting mop things, both in terms of appearance and just stuff from the expansion that we look back and we're like, hey, this is really cool. Like even the whole thing how the Pandaren are peaceful and we kind of mess things up and we have to like meditate on our role as heroes. I think that's interesting as well. Or in retrospect, the Garrison farm is like very. I call it the Garrison farm, the Tiller's farm.
Oh,
like
yeah.
Very, very relaxing and soothing. But yeah.
We should have a bigger farm.
Yeah.
We should have a mini Farmville. Or mini Animal Crossing.
I would love an Animal Crossing in WoW. That would be fun.
Which you can access on farm.
That should have been Island Expeditions. Turn instead of having Island Expeditions.
True. Just sit there and design everything. Yes.
Yeah.
That would be great.
Yeah. But yeah, also another cool item for Pod is the Droost Helm Transmog. They are back from Battle for Azeroth. They're associated with Ardenweald. And there is this helm that you can get in 3 different colors. One is a cosmetic item anyone can use in the white color from a rare. And then in the Mists of Tyrna Scythe dungeon, there is a Droost as well. And he drops a helm for mail and plate wearers in a red and black tint. So right now, anyone can get the white, the mail gets the red, and the plate gets access to the black as well. And these look really good with the Dazar Allure bone sets from, the BFA raid. And a lot of people were very excited about these. And the images were not showing it off super well, but the back of the helm is not just plain, like it keeps the texture of it, so it looks cool from multiple angles.
Oh. I think they look cool even just like this from in front.
Yeah, and like Kultiran Druids, for example, are really hype about this all.
Oh, because they've got, well, you can't, can you see your armor in different forms?
You can't, but like, because Kultiran is like so tied to like Drustvar and the history, it's just like it's like thematically fitting that they can like embrace this like nature but twisted part of their culture.
Gotcha.
So really cool to see that. And
so can cloth users use this white version then?
Yeah, cloth and leather uses white. Mail can use white and red, and plate can use white and black. Gotcha.
So if you see a red one, then it's definitely a mail user, and then a black one is a plate user.
Right.
Cool.
I don't know if the loot tables are final. It seems a little strange that they would add mail and plate for the boss and not a leather, considering like the Droost are, like very tied to Druidism.
Oh, that's
it's
a good
weird
point.
that there's not like a leather version, But you know, we'll have to see. I'm glad that at least one is cosmetic though, so anyone can use it.
Mm-hmm. I kind of like the white one, I think. So I think I'm okay with it.
Yeah,
Otherwise,
the
I'll
white
try
to
it.
me
We need a
matches
better one
the
for cloth.
yeah, the white matches the Desire lore one better, or I think other kind of bone themed sets.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Yeah, pretty cool little transmog update. And I
Yeah.
think that's it on transmogs. And next topic are the covenants, and more specifically, the Mythic Plus perks, which have been found in the different dungeons. I think we already touched this topic before. We knew of
Yeah.
one of them at the time. Now there's been more of them announced and a little bit more details on them. And yeah, Perk, what's your
Okay,
opinion on these
so
perks? Perk.
right. So last week I think we were speculating that there would be like similar perks in
Mm-hmm.
every dungeon,
Mm-hmm.
and it's turned out to like wildly not be the case at all. So, for example, the Venthyr in Halls of Atonement can control a gargoyle to help clear a pack instead of killing the gargoyle. While in Spires of Ascension, the Kyrian can get a spear to AoE stun enemies and get a damage boost, but you know, there's only like two spears, and to get both of them would take too much time. So essentially, like they only have one spear in per dungeon run. Or for the Necrolord in Theater of Pain, there is a versatility and movement speed buff. So they are actually all really different. Um, and I kind of like the idea of the variation and having things be pretty small in scale, like limited to one pack, as opposed to like, oh, you know, you can get like, you know, the Night Fae gives you 10% in this dungeon, and you know, the Necrolord gives you 10% in a different dungeon. I kind of think that if they're all different and unique, and they help with like one or two trash packs in a unique way, it helps obscure the min maxing, and I don't know. I think it would maybe help people pick covenant flavor they like. Now, of course, you know, we don't want the soul binds to make people feel forced into a covenant, but I like the idea that with these perks, uh, they're all different, and it's hard to, you know, you'll want one person in the group, but hopefully this shouldn't, you know, make or break more casual runs if it's, you know, one trash run, you know, what one trash pack.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, maybe that's the idea. Like maybe you are encouraged to have a regular group with at least one person in each covenant versus stacking them. So when your regular group hits up a bunch of dungeons, you will always have you know, that buff active. You know, you always take advantage of that, you know, unique perk in the dungeon.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I feel like at the
Um,
moment it feels okay to have these different perks, so to speak. They don't feel too overpowered. Um, Especially in casual play, I think it's amazing. I think it also kind of does encourage people to have more different covenants, not just everyone picks the same one. Among friends, especially too, you know, you could be like, hey, like I got this one, you take that one, or whatever. Maybe that can be bad in a way because you don't want to feel forced to pick the one that nobody else wanted. But in general, I think it can be quite interesting, and I think it's like not important enough to be fine if nobody picks it as well. That
right.
being said, I do wonder how it might affect things at the very toppest of levels in Mythic Plus pushing, but maybe that doesn't really matter because honestly, the affixes that change weekly is probably a bigger difference than one pack being handled differently because you have a special covenant. So I think
Right.
maybe it's fine.
And it's also, I know, like people try to make comparisons to like, oh, this is like the new must-have Raider IO score, but it's not something that everyone will be affected by. Like once you have that one covenant in your group, like stacking more will not, you know, do anything if
Yeah.
it's just like, you know, one mob
Mm-hmm.
that, you know, a Kyrian can mind control or something. It's just, okay, we have the one Kyrian, now it doesn't matter what the other people in the group are.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But yeah, obviously it would be good to see how this plays out. Again, Blizzard has not really made an official statement on this. We've just been like going around asking people to help us test things. We really appreciate everyone that's been coming to us with, you know, these buffs for us to share. But yeah, obviously we have not, you know, really had testing at high Mythic Plus levels with this to see if it makes anything OP. But, you know, we've seen, like, if we were talking about like esports and MDI, we already have issues with stacking. So I don't think like, oh, you know, in MDI we're gonna see, you know, definitely a Night Fae for Mists of Tyrna's Scythe, because it's like, well, we're already seeing, you know, mirror class compositions, you know, in MDI, and that made things boring in BFA. Or, you know, going back to Legion, it's like, oh, when the, you know, we see a mage in Blackrook Hold or warlock in Arcway. Like, there's always been this sense of, oh, you can predict what's going to be used in a certain dungeon. So I don't, you know, I feel like this isn't really anything new. If anything, it adds variation, because you know you're going to, you know, see a variety of covenants in a certain party.
Yeah, I think I'd like to see it play out and see how people end up tackling it. I don't think they should be strong enough to force certain comps, or not comps, but force certain covenants to be in the group. Worst case scenarios, it would only force one person to have it. So at least on a casual level, I think it will be very fun. And we will see how it affects the top end pushers.
Yeah, if it's only one person, it's not like, oh, you know, looking for all Venthyr group to,
Venthyr,
you know,
only group, because we have to mind control this guy that makes us skip one trash back. Yeah, we'll see.
But yeah, so wrapping up the show, we just want to highlight two quick interesting things. One is that motion sickness accessibility options are coming in Shadowlands. This has been hinted in the data for a few weeks, but now it's actually on the PTR and beta in the accessibility options to test out, and players can adjust their camera and UI shaking options. And also, if they want the motion sickness modifications to be centered around their character or on the horizon, because people experience motion sickness issues in various ways. There are also some CVARs that people can adjust for more customization, and there is an active forum thread on future improvements. The Ouroboros flight path is something that people keep criticizing as something that causes motion sickness that's currently not been addressed yet, but there's a popular forum thread where the team is looking for requests, and that keeps coming up. So if it affects you, you know, definitely mention it there. I think stuff like that, this is actually really good to add in, you know, especially as you know, you want everyone to feel included in the game, and if people are really concerned about their performance, you don't want people to feel that they can't do something, you know, high level, or like a cool boss ability is making them sick, or they're worried about their performance with something that is out of their control. So I think if this helps, you know, people that feel dizzy or feel sick, you know, if they can focus and play with less discomfort, I think that's a great thing.
Have you ever felt motion sick from playing anything?
I have sometimes. Also just things like you know, I can get a car sick
Oh yeah, I'm so
sometimes.
sensitive to that too.
So or you know, if they're you know, if there's something like, you know, like water in games, sometimes like if something feels very choppy or like lurching a lot, you know, like basically virtual car sickness. Yeah, I mean, I've experienced it, so not like, you know, full blown preventing me from playing, but you know, there have been moments where I'm like, okay, like I need to just like,
Yeah.
you know, take a step back, or like, gee, you know, like I have a migraine and I haven't been playing that long. Oh, maybe it's because of the effects on the screen. So I think, you know, I think it's a good thing to include, and hopefully there can be I know with the Ouroboros flight pass especially, they're trying to do something unique, and I'd hate if people disliked it because you know, the effects for this very
Makes them feel sick.
integral part of the game made them sick.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I have my own experience with being motion sick. I think generally I am more sensitive than the average person. I do have that thing in cars as well. I can't really use my phone for more than 5 minutes in the car, or I start getting sick. And when I play games, there's certain games I can't always know exactly why, but I guess they just have more motion, which is not on par with movement or something, that makes me feel more sick. So for example, the what were those games called? Alan Walker games? Alan what? No. I don't remember what they were called, but there was a series, a game series, 2 or 3 games, and I remember not being able to play more than Alan Wake. Okay, I remember having to play in sessions of like 3 hours max because I would increasingly feel more and more sick, and after like 3-4 hours, I determined like, okay, this is where it starts getting too much and I'm getting really nauseous, so I need to stop here. And so I would keep playing on new days and just play short sessions like that. Right. And then my worst experience with motion sickness was actually when Spyro, the game, just came out. It was very heavy motion blur, and it was making me feel sick. And once I reached this little mini game area that makes you fly around and try to catch things and go inside circles, and imagine like you're flying around and things are moving funny. It made me feel so nauseous that I actually had to leave the stream to puke. Like, actually, it actually went that far, and then I couldn't touch the game again because I was forcing myself to continue. I was like, I feel a little bit like motion sick, but I'm sure it's fine, and I just continued, and then like it was really bad. And then I researched it, and apparently a lot of people had experienced feeling motion sick from the game because they had motion blur that you couldn't switch off. It was forced motion blur. I think later on they did give an option where you can remove it, especially when they added the PC version of it, but I'm kind of scarred from it. I don't want to play it anymore. But it's kind of sad because I played Spyro, the demo at least of it, as a kid growing up, and I was really excited to play it. I was waiting for the release of the remastered version, and then that happened. So that's my experience of motion sickness in games, at least. But one day I'm sure I'll play it.
Yeah. But yeah, like we mentioned, if you are noticing motion sickness on the Shadowlands PTR or beta, there is a forum thread where the people who worked on it are actively asking for feedback as to other parts of the game that are still not, still giving you motion sickness.
And yeah, on the topic of motion sickness in WoW, I've actually never felt motion sickness in WoW, which I guess makes me lucky, but I can relate to people who do feel that from other games, so it would be horrible if I couldn't play WoW because of that. So I think it's good that these kind of things are thought about.
This also wasn't in the notes, but it's like UI related, so I just want to highlight it. It came up like a few hours ago. Just as a reminder, ray tracing support is coming in Shadowlands. The options have been data mined for months, but it's not been testable, and it's still not testable, but NVIDIA's latest news update highlighted that their latest update should support the Shadowlands beta. So hopefully it should be tested soon, and I just wanted to highlight that because people were like really looking forward, and then we never heard anything, and people assumed it was going to be scrapped. And it looks like it's not. But don't get your hopes super high. Based on the options, it feels like we'll be getting better shadows. It's not going to be like a super realistic World of Warcraft, everything. It's probably just going to be limited to a few types of improvements for video options. But just wanted to highlight that was another game option improvement that was coming that people might not be aware of, but cross fingers, hopefully this week with the update we can test it out. And for our final thing this week, we wanted to highlight the Azeroth Cosmic Map, which has been updated for Shadowlands, which is A, very pretty, and B, I think has interesting symbolism. I don't know if in the notes you have an image up, but I think it would be cool to highlight it.
Do you want the old version or the new version first?
Let's do the new version first.
All right, let's go jump straight into the new version then. There we go.
So we can see that, it's the similar art style to the old one. There are, the clouds, the parchment look, the sun at the top, but it's not just the addition of Shadowlands. It's the Shadowlands has the Animus swirl around the Ouroboros area, and that swirl continues through all of the planets, the Animus swirl. And I think it's really interesting how with Azeroth, the swirl goes through Northrend, which is where Icecrown is, which is where, we've got the opening between two worlds. And it doesn't just go through Azeroth, it also continues through Draenor and then ends in Outland. So I like all those. I like the symbolism that, Outland and Draenor could be part of this anima system as well, especially Draenor, because it's like, well, it's AU. Like, if someone dies on AU Draenor, like, do they go to Shadowlands? Do they go somewhere else? Like, will we see like AU alternate universe Durotan, and then like, main universe Durotan in Shadowlands? It could just be an artistic choice, but I do think that having the Anima swirl go through Northrend is deliberate.
Interesting. Oh yeah, and Northrend for sure. That's actually a very good point. It's right on top of it.
I think we can also compare to the old map as well. And we can see that Sargeras is no longer a thing. So maybe he's like out of the picture for now. He's no longer angrily staring at the map. The border is different. So previously we had like the jeweled border that was like kind of Draenei, and then the Iron Horde border at the bottom right. So I guess, symbolizing different aspects of WoW. We had a lot of stars. The stars are still present, but in different areas. We kind of have like a empty moon thing at the bottom that seems to be gone. Maybe that got replaced by Shadowlands. Oh, no, the moon is actually still there. It's just more obscured. So that's interesting. But yeah, I like how they kept the same atmosphere, but with Shadowlands, like the thematic element is the anima, not, these like Titan majestic creatures fighting with each other on each side. I do think it's a little funny how the Broken Isles on Azeroth seem to have gone away in the Shadowlands map, but maybe that's an oversight and that will be added back in, because they haven't gone anywhere as far as I know. But yeah, I think it's really pretty. I think like this, and along with a cosmology chart, I think would be really cool art just to have as like a parchment poster or like a mouse pad. There are many things it could be used for.
Yeah, I agree. I think it would look great as a mouse pad, actually.
Yeah,
or a real parchment.
Yeah, I would also love to see like more. Another thing Blizzard has announced for Shadowlands is like the art animation videos, and I think that's something in the style would be a really cool thing to see, like a video in, like describing the history of Azeroth, like the style of kind of like antique archival art. Maybe that's something they'll announce at Gamescom too, like the Shadowlands version of, Warbringers or Lords of War.
Oh, that's a good point. Wait, last year, Gamescom, Blizzard wasn't there, right? So there was no announcements.
No. But
this time, the year before was something.
They showed Ashara at Gamescom.
Oh, the Warbringer, yes, you're right.
Yeah, so that was pretty cool.
Oh, we have a cat here in her cat tree.
A cat
cleaning herself.
Right, Paw. We also have a cat, except he is. Let me move my camera. I'll move it because we're nearly done with the show, so I think that's okay to show. Right, Paw? Look at you. Yes, there you are. Let's move this.
Oh, now I see. I was so blind. I was like, where?
Yeah. There we go.
The laptop. Yeah, there we go. Couldn't see his face. So cute.
He's sleeping. Yes, good boy.
Oh, now she went higher up.
Boop. There we go.
Yes.
But yeah, he's just been sleeping here the whole time. Well, not sleeping, but he's been awake. He's been staring at me sometimes, but his paws are like all over the wires in the laptop, so I'm very happy it hasn't overheated. But Oh, now he's awake. Hello, Bright Paw. No, don't rub against the microphone. This isn't a back scratcher.
Wait, it's not?
Yes,
thought
it's a
there was a-
customized.
Yeah,
Oh,
back
Bright
scratcher
Paw.
just for me.
He's so funny.
I think that was actually all the topics, wasn't it?
Yeah. So, don't know if there's any questions. Bright Paw, no. I don't know if there's any questions in chat, but we're about done with the show. And yeah, we don't know if there'll be, PTR updates on Tuesdays versus Wednesdays now. But, Mondays continue to kind of be more of a slow news day, so we don't really expect any big reveals, right after the show.
That's okay. Still a decent amount of news to keep track of things. For people who may be new to the show, we do run these weekly every Monday. So if you want to keep track of what's going on, you can simply tune in. And if you don't find the time to tune in when we're live, we are also on YouTube. We tend to upload this within 24 hours, usually either right after the show or within a day or so. We upload it to YouTube, so you can... is it Tuesday today? No,
it's Monday.
Okay, technically
it's
Tuesday
where
in
you
Sweden.
are.
Yeah.
It's
past midnight. You're right. It's Tuesday, but if you tune in on Tuesday, then you've probably missed most of the show. So you should tune in Monday still. I noticed that there were a couple comments on YouTube asking about times of the show and similar. And the live show goes live Mondays at 10 p.m. CEST, which is the time zone that I'm in, living in Sweden, and 1 p.m. PST, which is where Perk is, the time zone where Perk is living in. So you can just compare your own time zone to those time zones to see where it matches where you live to catch the show. And we do these weekly to make sure to help make it convenient for people to hear what the latest news are without having to research themselves. Just as a convenient news source about WoW. Sometimes we might touch a little bit of other topics, but usually just WoW. Quite often the Blizzard world in general can comment some of the other games, especially if it's kind of related to lore that touches World of Warcraft 2, like in the World of Warcraft world, so to speak. But mostly World of Warcraft. And we can expect some fast updates, at least very, very soon. We have the pre-patch, we have the invasion, we have the expansion itself. Everything's gonna happen really fast in the next 2 months. So probably some
release date.
some busy weeks to look forward to in terms of news, that's for sure. I have I think I've kept track of chat, tried to answer any kind of questions or comments that people have had. Somebody asked if Blizzard ever confirmed the cross transmog for Legion artifacts, and I believe yes. Correct me if I'm wrong?
Sort of.
Okay, they sort of did?
I'm not. Yeah, I think they said they were working on it.
Okay. So if it's not done for Shadowlands, maybe next expansion.
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure on that. Also, when the whole wand over caster weapon thing came up, people were asking about the one shoulder option. That was data mined, but there were complications, and that never actually made it into Shadowlands, where you can like hide one shoulder.
Hide one shoulder. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah. But yeah, I am happy about the wand thing.
Yeah.
So if you're a wand wielder, now you can transmog your wand into a dagger or a sword as a warlock or mage, and into a mace or a sword as a priest. Wait, just no. Yeah. The priest use daggers or okay, yeah. I knew that they use one of the two, but I wasn't sure which one. So they use dagger. Okay. So I remember the first time discovering that priests use different weapons to warlocks and mages, and I had played the game for so long before I had realized that's the case. I just always assumed the cloth wearers all use the same weapons. But yeah, daggers it is. Or wait, not all the same weapons. I just thought priest had mace in addition to both dagger and sword.
Oh no, the priest can't use sword. Like everyone has two things. So like the mage and the warlock are dagger and sword, and then the priest are dagger and mace. Because I guess sword is too like, I don't know, combat, and priests are, not that.
Yeah, gotcha. Herald of the Titan, I don't think that's anything that Blizzard has commented either, but it is a topic or a question that a lot of people have asked me too. Was there
that
something?
was actually in one of the achievement updates, they like reduced the level of it, so like it's scaling. It's gonna work in Shadowlands. So I thought it was common knowledge it was staying around, but if people are unsure, maybe, I don't know, I could write a post just clarifying it. But yeah,
because I've been asked as well, so I think I would, yeah.
Let me actually pull up the... Right, Paul, why are you trying to knock this down? Let me pull up the actual achievement on Shadowlands and just read what it is. Herald of the Titans.
We also have a comment saying that you cannot lock XP. Is that true? Because I thought you still can.
I'm not 100% sure. Just going back to Herald first, it's defeat Algalon at level 30 without anyone in the raid wearing items higher than item level 35. So it is scaled down to work.
Okay. Well, if you guys do write an article, I think looking into whether it's possible to lock your XP at that level could also be interesting.
Okay, yeah. I mean, I guess the XP lockers are in the capital cities, right? I mean, like, if you couldn't lock XP, that seems like it would be really bad for Twinks, yeah? Like, that would be...
they did nerf something. I don't remember what it was. Maybe they nerfed that you can't twink at 110? No.
Well, the Legion legendaries aren't good for twinking. I mean, the removal of their effects.
I feel like they changed something to do with locking XP, but I don't remember what it was.
Yeah, I mean, we'll definitely check that out, but I've not heard anything about the experience stuff, just that it seems that you can still do Herald in the pre-patch.
I vaguely remember that something happened that kind of ruined things for Twinks, or made it more limited, but I don't remember what it was exactly. Somebody says, I think Hazel looked and the XP lock NPCs are gone. Could be wrong. Okay, so it could be worth looking into them.
Well, yeah. Yes. It's also, yeah, I mean, it'd be good to check on the beta and PTR, because if they want people to test leveling, the ability to XP lock would be counterproductive. So yeah, it would be curious if they were gone, if this was intended, or like just a, hey, we actually want you to level. You can't just, I don't know, go do stuff without XP locking.
Yeah. I think that's a very good point, because if you do go back and try to get Algalon at level 30 and then you can't lock your XP, then you ding on the bus right before Algalon. It's kind of awkward.
Yeah, that'd be weird.
So I feel like you probably can. If the achievement is still there, then I would assume that you can still lock your XP.
Yeah.
But I guess, yeah. We'll find out soon. And it'll be on Wowhead.
Yeah. I will bring it up at my meeting after the show.
It'll be up as an article, and we will probably cover it as well in a follow-up show. Yeah. All right. Well, thank you guys all for watching the show tonight. Oh, yeah. High five, of course. Yeah. After every show, we have to do this. And you guys can do the same with your friends on Discord or any other places, because social distancing... No, wait, that's not what I meant to do. Yeah, social distancing, I guess, is fine when you're at home with the cameras, even if you happen to, like, touch each other. That's what I meant to do, yeah. I forgot what I was doing. All right, let's go with a high five. 3, 2, 1. Yeah, there it is.
Did you guys hear Bright Paw?
No.
Because the bop was by his head, so he did it as a little cat trail. He was like,
oh, no, we didn't hear.
Oh, Bright Paw's coming. Bright Paw, do you want to say goodbye? Do you want to say goodbye, or are you just being playful? Oh, he doesn't want to say goodbye.
Oh.
He's just sitting here.
Oh, I can see his ears.
There he is.
Yeah. Oh, he's got so beautiful eyes, yeah.
Yes, he knows he has beautiful eyes.
He knows. He definitely knows. But yeah, we'll be back next week, same time. Again, since we did have somebody ask about it earlier during the show, watching the show gets you nether shards, which is like a loyalty system points thing. You get it for just being in the chat, and you can use those points to redeem things. If you scroll down, you can see something that says like store items, and that store, the currency used for that store are the points that you get for watching. So you can watch enough Wowhead to get yourself a Wowhead plushie, for example. And I think mine is here somewhere. I don't know. I actually just moved my setup from the living room to a new room. Not sure if I was like this last show. I don't remember. But I recently moved, so I don't know where the plushie is right now. But that's something that you can save up for.
Yeah.
Just a fun little side thing. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do I have the oh yeah, that's not the plushie. Weird. I don't know where. Oh, it's on the floor. 1 second. I can show the plushie.
Percast.
Here it is.
Good stuff.
Yeah,
there it is. Yeah. You can get a Wowhead plushie, for example, by getting enough points.
Sometimes Grandpa likes playing with it.
Mm-hmm. If you feel lucky, you can gamble your points, but I don't recommend it because you risk losing everything. So only do it if you like truly don't care about your points. Gambling is bad. All right. Well, we'll see you all next time. Thank you guys again for watching and supporting, and on to next week. Be good to each other, be kind, and take care of yourself. Don't forget to eat, drink water, and sleep. Important things. Bye, everyone. Oh, you were muted there. Oh, you're still muted. Okay. Well, unless, wait, maybe she's only muted to me? I can't hear you. Do you guys hear her? No? She is muted? Okay. Well, that's okay. Luckily enough, us humans have these weird things where we move our hands in a certain way that means goodbye. So at least that's something that you can understand from her. Bye, everyone. See you all next week.